Can you give me 5 minutes? In 5 minutes, I can make you an expert on dead zones. Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to break down exactly what these underwater deserts are, and more importantly, why they matter to every single one of us.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the basic building blocks of a healthy ocean. Then, we'll uncover the recipe that turns it all deadly. We'll see the shocking impact it has, figure out who's behind it, and finally, explore what on earth we can do about it.
To really get what's going wrong, we first have to understand what makes things go right. And in the water, it all boils down to two key elements that basically act as bouncers at the door of life.
Okay, so think of nitrogen and phosphorus as gatekeepers. In a healthy ocean, there's just enough of them to go around. They limit how much algae and plants can grow, which is a good thing. It keeps the whole food chain in balance. They set the speed limit for life.
This slide just nails the whole issue, doesn't it? It shows how something good, nutrients, can go so wrong. On the left, you've got a perfectly balanced system, clear water, healthy life. But on the right, you flood that system with too many nutrients and boom, you get this out-of-control algae explosion that turns the water into a murky, unstable mess. All right, so how does this actually happen? Well, it's not just one thing. It's a chain reaction, really. Like a step-by-step recipe for disaster, where adding way too much of one ingredient completely ruins the whole dish.
And this whole process has a name, eutrophication. Now, I know what you're thinking. It literally means well-nourished, which sounds fantastic, right? But trust me, this is a textbook case of having way too much of a good thing, to the point where everything just collapses.
And here it is, the 5-step domino effect. It all starts with nutrient overload from farms and cities. That acts like a super fertilizer for step 2, causing a massive algae bloom. Then that thick green sludge on the surface blocks the sun, killing off all the plants below. For step 4, bacteria swarm in to eat all that dead stuff, and in the process, they suck up all the oxygen. And that leads to the final step, anoxia. The water literally runs out of air. So what happens when the oxygen is all gone? The result is pretty grim, and it's exactly what it sounds like. The entire ecosystem suffocates. And this is what creates what we call a dead zone. And this isn't some far-off concept. It happens every single summer in the Gulf of Mexico. An area that's supposed to be teeming with life turns into a marine graveyard. The animals that can swim away do, but the ones that can't, like crabs and shrimp, they just die. And just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about, look at this number. In 2019, that dead zone was over 22,000 square kilometers. Okay, to put that in perspective, imagine an underwater area the size of the entire state of New Jersey, where for months on end, most marine life just can't breathe. It's staggering.
And hey, this isn't just a problem for the Gulf of Mexico. It's happening all over the world, from the Caspian Sea to the Bay of Bengal. And notice a pattern here. These dead zones are almost always clustered right next to coastlines with lots of farming and industry. That is not a coincidence.
So that begs the question, right? How did our oceans and lakes get so overfed? If this isn't natural, where's it all coming from? Well, all the clues point in one very clear direction. And here's the kicker. This is on us. This isn't some natural cycle. We're causing it. The number one culprit is agricultural fertilizer, just packed with that nitrogen and phosphorus. But it's also coming from our sewage systems, industrial waste, and even some of our detergents. This right here puts it all into perspective. The Mississippi River basically acts like a giant funnel. It gathers up all that farm runoff from 31 states, the heartland of America, and channels those fertilizers straight into the Gulf of Mexico. So yeah, a farm in Iowa using fertilizer in the spring is directly feeding that dead zone that pops up in the Gulf every summer.
Okay, that was a lot of bad news. But now for the most important part. What can we do? It can feel totally overwhelming, but here's the thing. This is not a lost cause. We actually have the tools to start fixing this. We can fight back on so many fronts. You have the big picture stuff, like better regulations for industry and sewage treatment, but then there are the on-the-ground solutions, like planting buffer zones of trees and plants along rivers to soak up runoff. And even better, we can change the way we farm, focusing on making the soil healthy again so we don't need to dump so many chemicals on it in the first place. Ultimately, if we want to fix this for good, it means we have to rethink our entire approach to agriculture and how we manage waste. We have to look at how we grow things and understand the impact it has downstream. It's a huge question for sure, but one that's definitely worth thinking about. Thanks for giving me 5. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment.